So this is a group of folks we've had in our lives for a very long time. I mean, cumulatively, you could add up the years, but then I would really feel old, so I'm not going to do it. But I remember our first call. I remember talking to these guys before they had their children, and now they're grandparents. No? I mean, your daughter was what? I mean, 14, not yet born. I mean, it's been a long time, right? Just born, baby screaming in the background on a coaching call kind of thing. Yeah. And Brandon, how long have we been talking?
3 years.
3 years. That's it? Good Lord, it feels like you had like a big afro then.
I did.
Oh, okay.
That's on top.
So let's talk about our markets. Colette, tell them about your market, where you sell real estate and all the good stuff, in case they didn't hear it.
Okay, I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. So that market's fairly robust, a very large metropolitan area, but we don't have anything that landlocks us. So we have a lot of sprawl. So the metro Atlanta area is considered all the way to Alabama, as well as the Carolinas, believe it or not, in Georgia.
So are you still with, Julie and I talked about, are you still with RE/MAX, or did you switch, or?
I'm still with RE/MAX.
Okay.
I have my own brand under RE/MAX, and I found it very interesting to hear what their branding and their percentage of profits were, because I actually was able to get into RE/MAX at a really good split, so it makes me feel really good. And I love the brand, but I brand myself under RE/MAX. So just like with the leads, you have to have the same RE/MAX brand and logo, but most people know.
He went to hold it closer. Colette.
I'm worried that it's going to have feedback.
No, that one's good.
Okay, this one's good.
That's a good one.
Okay, so my brand is right next to RE/MAX.
Can we talk about the fact that you've had brokerages trying to, to get you?
Yes, we'll talk about that.
So are you aware that in the country right now, you guys may or may not be aware, but there's a lot of big brokerages that are not wanting to buy brokerages, they're wanting to buy top producing agents. Is everyone aware of that? And she's received some really lucrative offers.
It was really lucrative, and it actually made me pause for a moment. However, if you actually know your numbers and know your monthly as well as your year profitability, and you're looking at the overall splits, it really is not profitable. But it was $250,000 to have me come on. But with the splits and the averages that I made, it didn't make sense. And then you have tax liabilities and all the other things. But they have gone out to, and it's a big company that does not have.
There's like 3 of them now that are doing it. They're trying to buy agents.
So can I say the company?
Hey, it's up to you. It's your deal, woman.
Yeah. Is there anyone here with Coldwell Banker?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's Coldwell Banker, and I had been with Coldwell Banker in previous, when I first started in this business 17 years ago. And I am a top producer in the Atlanta market in the top 5%. And they have aggressively pursued the top agents in the Atlanta market. And over the last year, only one has gone over. And I find that very interesting as well.
Right, but agents are the targets. Big producing agents are the targets.
And the president sat me down and said that.
Yeah, I had a personal client that was offered $1 million to move, to change. Yeah, $1 million. Well, but it wasn't all at once. They don't give you $1 million. They give you a certain amount up front, and then you have to hit certain milestones over like 3 or 4 years, and they give you golden handcuffs. So.
See, and this one was not tied to any production, which I found
amazing. I've never heard of that before. They just wanted beautiful Colette McDonald.
Within 3 years, you have to pay it back. I'm like, a little hard for me, but.
Great. Lance and Karen, you guys are in. Tell them about your market.
We're in eastern Washington State. It's Tri-Cities, which is made up of Richland, Pasco, and Kennewick. Our total metro area is about just over 200,000. It's kind of an agriculture area, a lot of wineries, ag tourism type area, along with a wonderful nuclear site that the government's cleaning up.
Which, by the way, completely, this is kind of ironic, but the bad nuclear power plant, in essence, I mean, you guys ever seen Simpsons with Blinky the fish? Bloop, bloop, bloop. I mean, that's their sorry.
No,
yeah, but it protected you guys from the last recession completely.
It protected us completely because right when the recession started, they launched a $13 billion construction project. So
brought in tons of people, houses.
Everybody was moving
right.
to our area to work.
We were having like a coaching conversation about short sales, and you're like, dude, no, you're not hearing me. I mean, every one of my listings just sold.
Absolutely.
Right. And so, how many houses will you guys close this year?
I get confused now because we have a commercial team that we've started, but houses will be around 360, and then with our commercial units, we're tracking for 430 right now.
And when we, I'm not in any way, even remotely, taking any sort of indirect or direct credit, but when we started working together, how many houses were you guys selling?
23.
23. You remember?
Yeah.
23. Okay, then I'm taking all the credit. Great.
Almost all buyers.
Yeah, and almost all buyers.
Yes.
And almost divorced. Correct. Yeah.
You know, I do remember that call.
23 buyers, that would cause a divorce. So there you go.
And how many of those are listings now?
50-50. I already know the answer.
Exactly. We're like
That's-
49, 51.
Yep.
I mean, it's 50-50 right now.
I want to use my time to ask them how. How did you do that?
They prospect expires every day, something you need to work on.
Is that true?
That's the answer. That's the answer in this room.
No, it's really
I know that it's not true.
It's not good.
Karen, when we had kids in the house, she couldn't leave the house because they're kids. So she would prospect for me. We would both prospect at the same time. She would prospect while they were sleeping, and then
Sorry, Brandon.
she would send me on appointments. So
He was hoping.
that's how we started. Yeah, it's awesome.
Well, but you know, look, come on, just to answer his question fairly, you guys also do radio advertising. You also do, I mean, tell them what your spokes are.
Yeah, I mean, we do radio, we do Zillow advertising. I know Tim hates to say that, but I don't really have a filter. So we still do a lot of Sphere in the community. So we're running about 41% Sphere from personal Sphere and networking groups.
The Zillow advertising is because you guys were going for a days on the market that was measured in minutes, seconds really, and so it's really hard to generate buyer leads when you don't have your listing set around. So if you wanted to generate transactions, your business wasn't, I mean, you guys go after every FSBO in your marketplace.
Yep.
Every FSBO is like, you know, that's a target. And what's your conversion rate in for sale by owner? So Brandon and all the rest of you, they get their inventory from direct prospecting, but the stuff sells so fast it doesn't stick around long enough for them to really get any meaningful number of buyer leads off of it.
Yeah, it was really tough because we used to carry 70 listings, and so when the market turned and we went to a 1.5 month supply, which we had never had before, so we had to pursue some of those lead generation sources.
Sure.
And we had to staff a little bit to take advantage of them, but it's really competitive. It's a 30-second callback on those lead generation sources. So if you can't, I agree with Tim and Julie, and we talk about this all the time, if you can't call back in 30 seconds, then don't spend the money.
Furiously fast lead follow-up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. Really inspirational. Brandon Jackson, Charlotte, North Carolina.
Well, so you run a brokerage.
I run a brokerage regionally in Charlotte. I help some folks in Charleston, Raleigh, and Myrtle Beach. I have 4 kids, and personal production is a big part of my business model. It's not just helping agents be successful. I mean, I feel like it's my job to show and be a leader in the front so that I can come and speak to them and teach them in a position of true knowledge versus I'm guessing, or I think that might work.
And the agents in your office tell us that the reason they join your office is because they know you're in it, doing it, not just talking about it, and you read about it in the back cover of a book and all the rest of it.
It helps.
Yeah, it helps, definitely. So, Colette.
Yeah.
Okay, it's got to pass it all the way back down. So you did have a big team.
I had a larger team.
Okay,
More agents.
and so, I mean, agent cannibalism, what happened to them?
They get an ego, and they think they can do it on their own, and they go out, and that's fine. We let them go.
That's pretty much the end of the story, isn't it? Yeah.
Good.
So
Not gonna add on anymore. We don't need them.
You've worked with sports teams. Talk about your lead generation spokes.
Okay, so my spokes are obviously the sphere in my community. I am politically active in the sense of giving back to my community, not necessarily in any sort of specific realm, but we have areas in Atlanta that are underserved by our political system, so we've created systems around that. So I helped create a city within the city of Atlanta. I know you're from East Cobb, so you know City of Brookhaven. I was one of the people that were on the actual first committee to create the city. So it was a fantastic way to not only influence and create something that is very successful and important, but I got to know a lot of people within the community and a great reputation. I've also been on HGTV. My undergraduate degree is in radio, TV, film, and speech. And how many other careers did you all have? I had at least 3. And I decided I didn't want to be a television reporter because I didn't make enough money. No profit in that. And this was in 1991. I'm very old. And so I used that.
Hey, we're the same age. No, don't say that. No.
So I was able to parlay that into not only presenting my listings and my marketing in a specific way, but when HGTV became very popular about 10 years ago, they started doing design to sell and bang for your buck. I was able to step in and offer my services for free, and that has helped a ton with not only influencing the marketplace, but credibility, because everybody loves HGTV. Then on top of that, that brought me into representing the Atlanta Falcons, because they wanted to have a name and a face, and so that continues just to be adding to that sphere. And then within the Atlanta market, because I've got the press and the brand, they will actually come to me when there are things that are happening for the AJC, which is one of our newspapers. And we also have PR opportunities throughout the year that I will get called on. So I continue to throw that out on social media and Instagram, and obviously prospecting is key. I use the 800 number. If you guys haven't looked into the 800 number, I love it, because I'm able to capture that lead and to contact them back immediately. And then on top of that, we do interactive HD video for each one of my listings. So if you don't have the courage to get in front of people or to start talking online in front of the camera, I would encourage you to put that in your arsenal. When I sit in a listing appointment and I say to my client, my job is to sell your house, but 99% of the time, an agent's going to have, or a buyer's going to have an agent coming in to show your house. This is unfiltered access for me to sell your house. So I do a 60-second Insta and Facebook video that I sell the house, and then I do an expanded one that's 5 minutes to sell the house. And the beauty of the 800 number, I'll come back to it, as I'm sitting there in a listing appointment, is when I call that 800 number and I don't give them the information in its complete form, they don't have the sales price.
Let's talk about that. You're going over, it's a really important point. So 800 home hotline, write that down. 800homehotline.com. So
the script is very simple. Hi. So someone calls in, I get their text message with their cell phone. So I've immediately captured their cell phone. They get a 40-second recording from me with lots of energy about this great house. And I tell them it's priced in the mid-500s. And if you want to hit 0, you can talk directly to me. If you want to hit 3, you can get a video on the house. Well, 99% of the time, people don't want to actually talk to us, but we call them back anyway. If we don't get them, the beautiful thing is I can send them a YouTube or a link from my website that shows them that house in front of that house, and it sells it.
Because
sitting there.
When somebody calls a toll-free number, you cannot block your number. So if they're calling 800 home hotline, for example, and it's called IVR technology, it's been around forever, that essentially the person receiving the call, Colette, is paying for the call, and so as a result of that, the analytical part of it doesn't matter. The bottom line is she captures, it's probably, 85-90% of the phone numbers that people call in. And so if they're calling back on a cell phone, you can call them right back, and you say, I won't do it with the same energy and enthusiasm.
Courtesy to the seller, I just wanted to call back to make sure you got all the information you needed off this 800 number. And of course they didn't, because they don't know the sales price.
She gave him a range. She didn't say 549. She said price in the mid-500s. And when she calls back, they're going,
well, how much is it? And then my next question is, which home do you own in the neighborhood?
Oh, you guys heard this before? Yeah. So, but that has to be the first question. Let me check to see if the house is still available. We have to remember we're having 1 billion people watch us online. Yeah, we have a, you have to say, thanks, that's a great house. Everybody's calling about that. I cannot compete with you. I'm not even going to try. And by the way, which house in the neighborhood are you thinking about selling? And then you're going to find that, I don't know, what's the percent in your marketplace of people that have houses? See, Lance is really paying attention now. I think my buyer's agents are going to totally do that.
My goal is to get 3 sales off of every sign.
Yep.
And I do, through that process.
Yep.
We get buyers, open house leads.
Neighbors checking price.
Neighbors, I just got one yesterday of a neighbor checking it out and wants me to come and talk to them about listing their home, which is in a sister neighborhood. It's not in the exact same neighborhood.
Seller making sure you call them back.
Yeah, but it's a killer listing tool, too.
They track you. It is. It's a killer listing tool because I guarantee you're the only agent that's sitting there showing them that.
You can demo it right in front of them. And this costs, do you know?
I think $37 a month.
Yeah, $37
Yeah,
a
my
month.
numbers, Tim.
Yeah, of course you do.
So yeah, $37 a month, but it really is a great tracking tool and something that you can continue to follow up with. But like Lance said, your sellers are checking on you too. They're making sure that you're doing and you're precise with what you told them that you were going to do in your listing appointment. So those are some of the spokes of my wheel. We just continue to churn, churn, churn.
And this is the exact same system Julie and I used back in the 90s. And there's so many listings we got from just doing exactly what you said. And so when we say, and you will agree, is this is like the last thing you want to delegate. Because if you get those texts and you call them back right away, you're going to convert at a hell of a lot higher rate, and you're going to find out that house is to sell, and that's going to pick off leads. So you delegate that. Rochelle, she was part of our buyer. Yeah, yeah, I mean, it was iffy as to whether or not they're going to call them back within 30 seconds, and whether or not they're going to follow the script, and whether or not they're going to follow. But this is one of the things in a changing market you do not want to delegate.
I would agree with that.
Yep. Lance has something to say. I think he's going to ask for the website again.
No, I totally agree with that. I mean, the other thing I was thinking about when she was saying that with the spokes is, as our market becomes standardized, I mean, we're all agents and we do generally the same thing, but what I kept thinking about when Paul was talking was that you have to have a USP, you have to have a unique selling proposition. And, his is that they're specializing and that they don't have to do the work. You can't get that anywhere else. So when you're on a listing presentation, if you don't have a USP,
or many,
you need to make sure you have one to differentiate yourself. So ours was always, and I stole mine from kind of a legend in the Phoenix market, Russell Shaw, and his was basically the one-day listing, and that was that you could fire me at any time after 1 day.
We have that in the PLP called Easy Exit Listing.
Easy Exit Listing, and so that always was ensured that we would get the signature at the appointment almost every single time, because they would ask how long your contract was, and we would say it's 1 day. So I'm going to earn your business every single day. If not, you totally should be able to fire me. And so I started running radio ads like that. And we ended up getting a lot of business because they're always, when people are upset at the end of the contract that their house hasn't sold, which it sounds like we're headed back to that market, they're going to call the guy, they spent the last month and a half not being able to fire their previous agent. Now they're going to call the guy that they can fire if he doesn't sell the house. So try to cut other agents off at the pass by having a good USP.
And having a killer PLP. And that's a great one, too. Use that one, I'm sure.
I use these, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, because it's like Mr. Seller, I mean, here we are sitting at the table and, yes, it's a listing contract, but you realize if for any reason you're not 100% satisfied with the services I'm providing, I'll let you out with no strings attached. By the way, did the other agents you were talking to offer something? No, they didn't. Interesting. I wonder why. Boom. Close.